Welcome to Caves of Hope channel. Thank you very much for joining us once again. My name is Siyabuya Dube. I've got alongside me here Pretty Dube, my lovely wife. We are talking today about pastor's wife, experiences that pastors' wives go through. Many a time people talk about pastors, but they forget about pastors' wives. And I want to welcome Pastor Pretty, as we're going to be talking more of your life, a bit of your life, and just experiences of pastor's wife. Welcome to the show.
Thank you.
Why are you marrying a pastor? Why a pastor?
I never married a pastor.
Right.
I didn't want to marry a pastor. I never wished to.
Why was that?
Because of the experiences I was seeing, like my pastor's wives or other pastors' wives really going through, or hearing about their stories. It's the challenges. Mainly for me, it was like spiritual attacks, and then like they fast every day, most of the time, and I thought, oh, they don't have a life,
Right.
and I just used to see their lives were just easy. Either they are at a conference, or maybe, they're at a funeral, and sometimes they're never together with their husband. One has to be maybe leading a service somewhere, and one has to be traveling maybe to the hospitals and things like that. So that's what made me wish not to marry a pastor. So we were called into ministry 2 years after I got married. So yeah, we just obeyed God, because
So it's something that you were not
God.
expecting.
No, it's not something I was expecting, because even when we were told that we are called that Sunday, I remember I was expecting my first child, and it really traumatized me. I was really sad. I was really sad and scared, and I remember telling you on our way home that they think we're going to be pastors. And you were like, I don't know whether you saw that I was really worried. You said, oh, no, not now, not now. It's not going to happen now. It will happen after, many years, when we're old, maybe in our 60s, yeah. So for me, that calmed me, but not realizing that,
Okay. Statistics says that most pastors thinks that ministry it's harmful to their marriages and family life. Is that correct?
Oh, in my experience, I would say it's partly true. It's true to a certain extent, because when we went into ministry, I was still young, even in my marriage. So I was still figuring out what marriage is all about, still trying to learn you, and trying to figure out to be a mother, and trying to balance that with the church as well. That was a huge challenge. And then you had to work as well in this country. Sometimes you were mostly doing night shifts. So, and I would stay at home with the kids. And that was difficult, because the time to see each other wasn't like long, if you know what I mean. It wasn't enough, because as much as you are balancing that, you are trying to balance the motherhood as well. And so it became, marriage in itself really, I think as well, was also overlooked. Do you know what I mean? I think we existed, if you know what I mean. We did, because we didn't have even time to, we sort of took it on a high scale, and there wasn't time, because you had to, I know we did go out for a few times to have meals out, but that wasn't what I expected when I got married. No.
Tell us what you think out there. Is ministry a danger or harmful to marriage or family life? I understand from my research that As much as most pastors' wives think that, but the consensus is that if things are balanced well, ministry and family life, then it's quite good actually to serve God in the ministry.
I would say that is true, but with us, we didn't have like mentorship. So if I look back now, or if I would give someone advice, is you need guidance, you need mentorship, because
You need guidance. If somebody's watching us right now, you're planning and praying to go into ministry, you need mentorship. You need to be trained. You need guidance before you go into ministry. Sorry, can continue.
Yes, what was I going to say? Yes, you need mentorship, because I think we took the ministry side, we gave it 100%. And then, or maybe should I say maybe 80%, or, but
I would say 110%.
Yeah, it was just because we didn't want, we didn't want to fail. We didn't want to let God down. We didn't want, where we started ministry, I personally, when I was at work, I would hear, other people talking about other pastors, their saints, talking not in a good way. So it just showed that I'm under scrutiny, no matter what. So I tried by all means to make it work.
Tell us more about that life under scrutiny.
I think it depends what community you live in as well.
Right.
Yes, but it can affect. It affects you. Sometimes it's better not to know than to be hearing, nitty-gritty things about you, every little thing. Sometimes it wasn't even bad things, but you wouldn't want your every Sunday or your every Wednesday being discussed out there. That's what I was hearing when I was at work. It wasn't like maybe bad things, but you didn't want
Sometimes
just your
personal
life.
stuff.
Yeah, because sometimes even what you were wearing that Sunday, someone just talking about it, oh, she was
Does that make you change who you are or live a kind of life that people are expecting?
I would say this, it's important to know who you are. If you know who you are, then you won't bother about what people are saying. Maybe some people are strong that way. I think when we started, I didn't have a strong character in that way. I loved God so much. That's like one of my strengths. I loved prayer. I loved everything. But to deal with certain aspects like criticism and things like that, or I didn't have the ability to deal with it maybe in a positive way. It does crush you, and you need someone to speak to. Sometimes I will tell you, or you'd find out certain things, and then the way you'd portray to me would even maybe perhaps crush me more, because I would like wish you could hear my story first, or maybe hear how I feel, or so I think because we didn't have mentorship at the time.
So it sounded like I'm supporting the saints more than supporting or protecting you.
Yes, because it was later in the years that you realized. I think because, like I'm saying, I had a very strong relationship with God. So where I couldn't, get the defense or the protection, I would pray and tell God maybe how I feel, and God will answer in amazing ways, or He will heal me in amazing ways, and then I would carry on. So, like David says, I will, look up unto the hills from whence cometh my help. I that's what I did. That's what I did.
What advice would you give to young couple, or probably mature couple that are right now going to ministry or that are in the ministry, and they're actually experiencing some problem where the wife feels not protected by the husband. The wife feels that she's alone. She feels like, everyone in the church is against them. What advice would you give them?
Number one, have a strong relationship with God. To have a mentor to guide you through, whether it's your senior pastor or the founder or bishop in your church, and also affiliate with other women of God or men of God, so that you can get sort of counsel, because you find that in that circle people are going through the same things, or they've experienced the same things, so they have a way to help you. But most of all, make sure your marriage is intact. Make sure you love each other and you pray for each other. Never have the hate. No matter what we went through, I still would say I love my husband, and I'll pray. And I think, you loved me more as well. So that way it also helped, even though, like I'm saying, sometimes you sort of like were blinded to some things that were affecting me. Maybe you'll take them minor, but for me they were a big thing, because you'd cry privately.
It's so easy sometimes to just think that things that you easily cope with, you expect somebody to easily cope like you do. People are different. People are different. What they can hold, what they can carry, So just understand your partner. Every step of the way in the ministry, you must be able to see a change in your partner. You must be able to see that something is not right here. I think I'd rather miss a service or be late to church and attend to my family. That's the advice Pastor Pretty is giving out right now. Don't go anywhere. We'll be right back. What was the worst experience? So, in the last 14 years of your ministry as a pastor's wife?
I don't know if I can call it my worst, or just like challenges that I faced in the ministry. Really is when the ministry is started. I don't know if I mentioned earlier, because it depends on you. You have no one else, so you are helping. You are pregnant. You are fully pregnant. You're still putting chairs. I needed help. That was the challenge. I didn't have like the help in church, and our church had very young people as well. So, the generations are different. I would expect like people to help, or even when you ask them,
But there was no help.
No, there was no help.
Do you understand why you had to go through all this?
Yes, now I do understand. Because I was just, before we go to that, like the challenges I experienced, it came to a point where financially as well we were really restrained, because we couldn't pay our own bills, trying to pay off the church bills, and that put a strain on our finances. And I really questioned God. Even I had to ask you at one point, like, are we really called? Because if we're really called, why are we struggling like this? Why is it so hard? And even the church wasn't that big, and then people were just relocating, and some will live genuinely, and so it will put a strain on our finances. And some people were there, but they were never giving anything, no matter how much you taught, no matter how nice we tried to be with people, we still faced the challenges. And so I remember, God spoke to you and said, why we are going through this is because we are called, for helps to help other pastors so we've experienced all these challenges and hardships, so that we know what pastors go through, So we've understood that sometimes pastors don't have money through the experiences we've had. This is one of the challenges I had. I wasn't driving when we first started the ministry, so sometimes I would go by train.
Sometimes walk.
I remember the women's services. I tried to have them, and I would go by train with, in a buggy, my son, and then my daughter's just a toddler. We get there's no one, or there's one or two people until you said, what, just wait. When people are ready, they will have it. So if I had a car, it would have been even swifter. I remember one day it was really raining, and getting out of the train station, walking somewhere so that you can come and pick us up. So we've experienced everything, not having money, not having food sometimes, and we still bath and go to church and dress up,
Not having papers, and you pray for people.
Not having papers. Oh yeah, yes. I had limited leave to remain for a very long time, so that was one of the challenges why I couldn't study. And then seeing people getting their papers and then leaving again. You're fasting for them, and you're doing all it takes to help, and some even financially we were helping them, and housing some, so it taught us, and then some as well, stepping you at the back, it taught us everything a pastor, can go through. They can go to bed, with no food. They can have bills, and nobody knows in the church. And sometimes even if people knew, we still never, got help.
Most people, they say, when they live in church, boss is pastor's wife, she preached this, that. It's never the pastor, it's always the pastor's wife. What do you understand about this? Do you think there's something to do with, or is this a spiritual thing? From your experience, can you just tell us what you think about that?
For me,
say the pastor's his wife, the way she talk, or she preaches, or she's gossiping, or not only you. I'm talking about general stuff that I hear, and doing my research.
It's funny the things I experience sometimes. Earlier years, I did experience. She said, "Oh, this is what she said," or I didn't like what she said. And then later it was my preachings. I didn't like what she preached, and I never used to understand. I used to get hurt, really.
Get hurt?
Oh yeah, I used to get hurt, and then you think, maybe I shouldn't be doing this thing. I shouldn't, doing this. And sometimes I used to get attacks. You would even pray for me at night, or when we are sleeping, I would have very weird experiences, and we'll really know where it's coming
Just
from.
In the middle of Pastor Pretty talking, I wonder if could be somebody watching right now. You're a pastor's wife, you preach. Every time you preach, you get attacks, you get people talking bad stuff, and you feel like probably you're not called, probably it's not your thing. I want you to know that whenever you preach and people react to you, know that you're actually releasing the work of God. I'm not condoning people who go and talk about people's stuff on stage. I'm talking about genuinely preaching the word of God, and still people don't like you, people stab you, or people talk about you. Be encouraged and stay doing what is right.
Yeah. Where were we? I experienced everything. Basically, that wasn't nice, and I did experience nice. But for me, later, I realized, it was only when someone wrote a letter for yeah, I think I was preaching 4 weeks or 3 weeks, I can't remember. They wrote a letter that they are leaving church because I was teaching about Jezebel that week, and they actually put themselves on this day, this Sunday, you preached about Jezebel and you said this and this and this. I'm not like that. Or it's not me, or it's not what, if you think it's me. So they were like, I was really shocked, and that's when we really realized that, it was like an awakening for me that, whatever I'm preaching does make sense, and the devil himself is the one who doesn't want me to preach. But I was sort of, in the beginning, I think it's a silencing thing for pastors' wives. There's something about pastors' wives that is very important, and if the pastor himself is blind to it and fights his own wife, then he's at a loss, because we spend time praying. The devil knows that if he can silence us, and I don't know other pastors' wives, but I sort of like discern as well. I might be quiet in a corner, what have you, but I sometimes I see things before they come, and sometimes I would even warn you, or you.
They always say that when pastor's wife started telling the pastor that be careful of that, she already seen. You must listen, even if you think whatever's happening is genuine. Yeah. They always say pastor's wives, they know, they can see before things happen. So is that what you're explaining?
Yes, yes. It's sometimes, like for me, it never made sense, but no matter how nice you are to me, sometimes I would just feel there's something, and I will go and pray about it, and then maybe the true colors of that person will come out, and this goes to sometimes pastors might say, you are jealous maybe of you're jealous, or stop being jealous, yes. Like I would say, I do trust you 100%, I do, but I don't trust the other people out there. I can see what they are capable of. Even some men have actually realized, and I'm like, there's something, but I don't know, let's pray. And later God reveals, and I'll be okay. It always comes right. And I like it as well that you don't just say yes, but no matter whatever your wife says, it doesn't mean like you have to take it like that in the first instance. We still pray about it, because you can destroy your own ministry sometimes if you just get things from face value. It's important to go and pray. But even for you, woman of God, even if you are being silenced, or you are being looked at like as a fool, don't give up. It's something God has given you. It could be discernment. I take it. Continue, praying and protecting your family. You will get a lot of attacks, because you are the one who sort of sees like everything. For your children as well, I kept a very good eye on the children as well.
Let's talk about self-configuration. Pastors' wives, when they are home, they are mothers, and they are wives. So sometimes, we spoke about this on our last video, about some of the experiences that in the end, you kind of like lost yourself, because you were putting everyone else, a priority. Then, in other words, remaining in the mode of a mother and a wife, and the self-pretty was suppressed, and you became so unhappy to a point where I said, baby, something's not right with you. Are you okay? I think you're losing yourself. Do you want to talk about that and give advice to some pastors' wives that are listening as well? It's not only in the church. I also did this even in studying about women poverty. That women, they always put other people in front. They've got that caring thing. Talk about that for a minute or two.
Yeah. it's funny because I've seen other women of God. They are outgoing. They are fine. They look well, appearance. They take good care of themselves. I sort of didn't realize that I'd lost myself. I was just carrying on with life, and I think my whole head was just full of ministry. I would live and talk ministry. That was like my life. I'll be planning for the next thing, and I would, even if I get money, I'm thinking of buying something new for the church, or that flower or something like that. Like I said, we're giving 100% for the church, or I'm going to clean the church. I cleaned the church till later last year. So it's been like for 14 years, we are not going anywhere. Our first proper holiday as a family, I think we went together in 2011. We went again in 2014 as a family, and then 2012 went to Israel, and that was a tour really. And then
so we couldn't afford the
we
holiday.
we couldn't. So we had to go, and again we didn't have anyone to leave the ministry with. That was another thing, that we didn't have anyone that we had really raised. Because
so it's important for pastors to raise people.
Yes,
once you start, make sure you raise other disciples.
Yes, raise ministers. It's tough sometimes, because even to find people who are trustworthy, it can be a challenge, or people who want the call. Some people are not ready and didn't want the call. I think that's what we experienced a lot, and so we were pastors for a very long time on our own. Yeah.
Is it difficult for a pastor's wife to have friends?
I don't know for other pastors, but for me it has been a challenge. I did have friends before, and they just disappeared one by one.
Once you became
they are there, do you know what I mean? But like, there's no that close relationship we did have. You call someone even once in a year. Like, I'm sort of that person who pursues. So I would call, and I still got some who still would call me and whatever, but they're not at the level of pastorship. We are like sisters, or So even any problems I might be facing in ministry, I wouldn't share. No, because they're actually maybe sharing, their problems to me. They're actually like maybe looking for advice. So it becomes difficult for you, and with your members, obviously you've seen people come and go. You wouldn't want people to live with your life as well. So it's hard to tell your own sayings. And so even in ministry, I've gone through, bereavement and what have you. By the time you want to tell someone, there's already another bereavement in church.
Thank you very much for tuning in once again. If it is your first time, please ask you to subscribe. We're going to be having more of these talk shows. Today we want to thank Pastor Pretty for giving us all this, some of the personal stuff and troubles they've been and challenges they've faced. I know that they're going to be a blessing to the body of Christ, as God has called us to go into the ministry of helps now. Those who don't know, we are Caves of Hope, and we are working hard right now to build a resort where we're going to be bringing the men and women of God, those who are burnt out, those who are not burnt out, and those who are about to burn out. Everyone is welcome, just to make sure that we gather together. The Bible says iron sharpens iron. We're going to be talking about experiences of ministry, and some they will be actually broken and bruised. They'll get healing there. We have a counseling center also. So be tuned in, and if you know a ministry, if you know a man of God, a woman of God that needs help, please, we've got our contacts right here. God bless you. Thank you for tuning in. See you.